There's something very subtle that is destroying many people's understanding of the Bible, and it's something that they have no idea is happening. It's something that you might not have even considered. I don't hear people talking about this. How do most people read the Bible? They'll pick up the Bible for the day and they'll open up to the particular chapter, and they might have a Bible reading plan. They'll start at the chapter or the subsection. They'll read through it. They might read a few chapters, however much, and then they'll usually stop at the end of a chapter or subsection, and then they'll put it away, put it down, and the next day they'll pick it up again and start at a new chapter or subsection and do it all again. So if you're reading your Bible like this, there might actually be something very subtle that is destroying your understanding of the Bible, and I'm going to reveal that in this video. So I'm going to get into this shortly, but first I want to ask you a question. How can we have a proper understanding and interpretation of the Bible? Well, the answer is to have sound hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is the branch of knowledge that deals with interpretation, especially with the Bible or literary texts. So what this means is that we want to be able to understand the Bible in context. Things that you want to know is the overall story of the Bible, the overall timeline of the Bible, and then to understand how any particular part of the Bible that you're reading fits into that. So for example, if you're reading a particular book of the Bible, you want to understand things like the background, the date, the purpose, the author, the audience, so that you can actually understand why this was written and what was intended to be communicated, to get the accurate meaning of the particular text. So how can a person misinterpret the Bible? Well, it's very easy. It's by not understanding the context of what they're reading. And there's one very subtle way that this is happening that I want to talk about in this video. And it might be something that's actually happening with you. Did you know that before the year 1555, there were actually no chapters or verses in the Bible? These were added in, and this is called versification of the Bible. The letters, take the epistles for example, were actually intended to be read as a whole letter. So any particular part of that you're reading is intended to be read in context of the entire letter. Now, whilst versification can be incredibly helpful for reference, and I'm so glad it's in the Bible, it's a good thing, it can lead to problems. And that is that when a person picks up to read the particular chapter or section for the day, they actually don't go back and reflect on what they read the day before. They don't think about the preceding context, so it's very easy for them to misunderstand the text and get a meaning that is never intended from the text. If you actually have a look, it's really interesting that a number of the chapters, many of the chapters start with words like but, now, therefore. So they are a continuation of the previous section, and they're speaking in light of what the previous section is communicating. So we need to be able to understand this. One of the other problems is that many people's understanding of particular Bible verses or stories or passages comes from preaching they've heard. And oftentimes this preaching can be topical, where the pastor's using eisegesis. They're pulling out stories and verses and they're reading their own meaning into those texts rather than using exegesis, which is trying to derive the intended meaning of the text. And then people will read that into their own Bible reading. So you can see the dangers of this. Like I said, versification of the Bible, the chapters and the verses, is a good thing, and I'm so glad that's in the Bible. It's so helpful for reference. But we need to be careful that we're reading in context and that we're knowing what the context of the particular passage is that we're reading. So what I would say is get an understanding of the overall story of the Bible, the overall timeline, and understand where the particular part of the Bible that you're reading fits into that. Would love to get your thoughts. Leave your comments below. Talk to you soon. God bless you, friends.